Buying new construction is probably one of the easiest ways you can make a mistake, because on any random day, you can walk into a model home. I typically find the builder reps to be pretty nice. The home shows amazing because, again, it's new, it's a model home. And if your finances are in order, you can be under contract within 24 hours of that initial visit. But that is the worst way, I think, to go about purchasing new construction. And so our conversation today is mainly going to be centered around a practical blueprint that you can use when purchasing new construction, from before you even step foot in that brand new home till a year after you are living in it. The first thing you got to understand is the art of the deal. I felt like pretty dramatic, so the sound effects would be fitting and stuff. The truth is, you can negotiate with the home builders, but to understand your leverage there, you gotta first understand, who are you? Not in a philosophical sense, but the type of buyer that you are. Are you a move-in ready buyer that if you found the perfect home, you could close within the next 30 to 60 days? Or are you sort of inventory spec home buyer where your timelines may be 2 to 5 months out from finding that right one? Or are you a TBB? I don't know why I said it like that. A to-be-built buyer that you want to do everything from scratch, pick the lot, pick the floor plan, the structural options, and the design options. The further down you are on that scale is the less leverage you'll have with the builders. And so with that in mind, what can you actually negotiate with a home builder? Well, at the top of the pyramid, so to speak, is going to be the total price of the home. Beyond that, you're gonna maybe consider getting credits and concessions from the builder. You got design studio incentives for my TBBBs, to be built buyers, lot premium reductions, and last but not least, free upgrades. One common example of this here in Central Florida is typically a builder doesn't include your refrigerator, washer, and dryer as part of the sale, and so requesting for those to be upgraded and actually be included in the home for free is one of the things that you can negotiate in there. So now, with your knowledge of those metrics for negotiation, it now allows you to effectively compare the builders and what they're offering. A recent example of this is I got a referral from a past client. They were presented with a okay deal from a builder on face value, but within 24 hours, we were able to survey 7 different builders. In this instance, I laid it all out on a spreadsheet. We were able to pick our top 3 that we're now pursuing, one of which is able to get the client net tens of thousands of dollars less on the price. And so truly understanding your timeline and the type of buyer you are kind of props you up to understand the type of deal you may be able to get. But the art of the deal isn't the only thing that matters when you're purchasing new construction. You also gotta ask WTB, who's the builder? And does that matter? I get this question probably most often when somebody's interested in purchasing new, and the answer to that question is yes and no. Over the years, what I've seen is that there are some small other nuances, but there's typically 3 main categories in which a builder will differ typically. And one is their process, 2, it's gonna be their standard features, and 3, it's gonna be their sales structure. What do I mean by process? Well, that's twofold. On one end, it's how they communicate. How often do they communicate? Some try their best really on the sales rep side to communicate as often about how the build is coming along. This is fairly irrelevant though for somebody that's working with me, because we've already established our cadence of updates, so they're never usually relying on the sales rep. But I've definitely had some where they maybe said they would and never updated the client at all. And it's across not just one, but more than one builder. And that goes beyond the builder rep too, though. It's also the loan team attached to the builder, because a lot of the times the incentives that they offer is only going to be applied if you work with their preferred lender. And so that also becomes a really important part of your process. And in some cases, I've seen it to where it's a great experience, and others where it is a subpar experience. The other part of process relates to what they allow and what they don't allow, especially when it comes to inspections, your third-party inspections. Some builders, some select few, don't allow you to do a third-party inspection. Some are very engaging, especially when it comes to the homeowner's orientation. Some now don't even allow you to put tape on the walls for all the cosmetic differences. Either way, you want to be prepared going into the more engaging folks and the less engaging folks, but it is something that I like to prep clients of beforehand. The second piece of it, and this really goes towards your budget, are the standard features. Some builders have a totally different model when it comes to pricing that they tout. For example, KB, they pride themselves on being value first and allowing you to build upon that with whatever you would like to add. That said, you're paying for like really basic stuff a lot of the times with KB. So I say that to say you may save a lot more if you plan to do a lot more after closing, but if you want a lot of the stuff to be done within that loan amount, then you got to really look at the standard feature sheets of these different builders in the communities that you are comparing, because they can differ quite a bit, and again adds to your total cost if you're not seeing what you want standard with the builder. Last but not least, the sales structure. This also sort of ties into the type of buyer that you are, because some builders have a model where they only do spec homes, meaning they pick the structural options, they pick the interior design options. And so if you are looking to build from scratch and curate that, certain builders you may automatically eliminate because of that reason. Other builders allow you to just take a package 1, package 2. And so if you want some customization, but you're not really looking to deal with the 3-hour-long appointment of a design studio, then you might naturally shift towards those builders. But again, we do have the a la carte full design studio experience, and some builders just do that well more than others. And so knowing who you are and learning about the builder now leads you to upgrades.
Where budgets go to die.
Not really, but kind of though. You can easily leave the base price in the dust when you start considering all the things that can be upgraded in your new home. And so what are some of the ways in which you can upgrade your home? Well, first you can start by where it's situated. That comes in the form of a lot premium. And so if your home backs up to a lake or conservation, or it's a corner lot, or it backs up to another home, all those can come with variance in price in the form of a lot premium predetermined by the builder. Another way in which you can upgrade your home is through structural options. It can be converting a half bath to a full bathroom. It could be a flex space now turned into a bedroom, a 20 by 20 standard 2-car garage, adding a 4-foot extension. These are all options that varies from builder to builder, but you can add them in your structural options package. The other piece would be the design upgrades. Now this is your countertops, cabinets, think of light fixtures, outlets, flooring choices. In general, it's really dealing with the cosmetic makeup of your home. And a question I get most often when clients are considering the upgrade category of a new build is, which one should I prioritize? And there is a certain level of subjectivity to this depending on what's more important to you specifically, but I think a good mindset going in is to say, how difficult would it be to change this after the fact, after the home is complete? And so with that mindset, the thing you definitely can't change after it's done is where it's situated. So make sure you're comfortable with your lot. The second piece would certainly be the structural upgrades, where I always kind of advise heavily to have clients focus on, because these are things that, yes, you could maybe technically change them after the fact, but much more costly, much more difficult, much more of a headache, much better to do with the builder, in my opinion. The design is easily the most changeable of them all. Now, I'm not advocating for you to completely ignore the design studio and not upgrade anything there, but a fine line to walk is the difference between cost and convenience. For example, flooring. Yes, in most cases, I find that clients upgrade the flooring with the builder, especially not maybe in all parts of the home, but say the living area, if it's already carpet or if it's a tile that you really just don't like. But for example, fixtures or backsplashes, these are things that you can change after the fact. And so those are just a few items that I wouldn't necessarily put a huge focus on, for example, with design. Assuming you got all that down packed, you are now under contract on your new home. And so what does the construction process look like from this point? Well, apart from getting frequent updates from me on the construction of your home, you have 2 appointments to consider. One's going to be your pre-drywall appointment. The other one's going to be closer to close. I alluded to it before, the homeowner's orientation. Typically, I call this the blue tape ceremony. Pre-drywall is so important. I've seen too many with third-party inspections done, which I always recommend. Too many things come up time and time again for you not to consider doing one if the option is available to you. These are some things like strike plates, which I've mentioned before on new construction videos, and then it's other things like leaks that once that drywall is up, then all of a sudden now you got leaks in your walls that you don't know of. The other piece is going to be that blue tape ceremony or homeowner's orientation, where they're going to walk you through all the systems of the home in its seemingly complete state. I always, again, recommend an inspection here. Really try to line it up to where the same inspector from the company that inspected it at pre-drywall inspects it again closer to closing. Let's knock out some frequently asked questions rapid fire style. Can I use my own lender? Yes, you can, but you may rid yourself of the incentives tied to using the builder's preferred lender. I always say I'd love to refer my local lenders to you for a better customer experience, but they typically can't beat what the builders are offering. How long will it take? It may take anywhere from 5 to 12 months, even more if you're talking on a higher custom build, such as maybe Saddle Crest by Toll Brothers. I did a video on that community if you want to check that out. What if rates go up while I'm under contract? Then they go up, unfortunately. It's sort of one of the cons of doing a to-be-built type of purchase is you have no predictions on rates. Builders can't guarantee that either, and so you got to be really secure in your budget for a worst case scenario. This is what tripped a lot of people up coming out of the COVID boom when rates started to rise. Got under contract at 3%, ended up at 6%, couldn't afford it then, and then they ended up losing their deposit. If you are looking to buy new, I'd love to partner with you as your real estate agent and walk that journey alongside you. So feel free to shoot me an email, info@orlandowithmario.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.